wanted to allow administration to hear the concerns of the students, since this is definitely a weird time in the world and a weird semester. You know, we're finishing a little earlier than normal. Um, we're all virtual. So I just wanted um, the concerns and questions to be answered before the semester was over. Um, I will also allow my co-president to introduce herself as well. You can go ahead, Ashley.
Hi everyone, I'm Ashley. I'm a bio major with a chemistry and math minor. And I'm so glad that we are able to have this town hall so that students can also, like Jasmine said, bring up their concerns and questions, and that so that everyone can hear what we have to say.
But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Um, First up, we have Allison. Um, we're gonna start off with stories and then questions. A few folks were willing to share during the town hall, while others were wish to remain anonymous. But we're going to go ahead and start off with Allison.
Thank you. So this is another student's story. Personally, I never thought that I would amount to anything, nonetheless attend college. You see, I am first generation and the thought of attending college scared me. I was scared I would flunk out of high school, that I would be dissatisfied and in pain for the rest of my life. Over the summer, I became the first person in my family to graduate. I was diagnosed with a medical condition that limited the foods I wanted to eat, and that caused me not to eat anything at all. Then I came here to VCU. I started eating 3 times a day and nourishing myself. I started talking to strangers on elevators and trying my best to be kind to everyone I know. I know from personal experience that this pandemic has caused lots of hurt and pain to people, and the least I can do is be a decent and kind person to others. Every day I wake up to the 5 alarms of my roommate with a smile on my face. I do have my bad days, but that's okay. It's just a part of life. Um, and next is Meher.
Hi, so this is another student's story. They wish to remain anonymous. And they said, I feel like I have been fortunate health-wise during this pandemic, as both my family and I are safe and healthy. I find that sometimes I feel more motivated to watch lectures compared to when I walked to an in-person class, but I enjoy Zooming with my friends and appreciate how technology helps me keep connected to my various virtual communities. And then I will turn it over to Jessica.
This person also would like to remain anonymous. They said, some of my classes have been great with very understanding professors, and some have not. In general, I have found online learning to be rather unmotivating and emotionally exhausting. But I appreciate professors that I had this semester who understand this and try to instate policies that help us. While I feel pretty disconnected to VCU right now due to remote learning, I appreciate the efforts of those who have tried their best despite the circumstances. And I will be passing this on to Rithika.
So this is a story by another student who wishes to remain anonymous. This semester has been especially hard, having to live at home with parents who don't understand college, and the hardships of not having your friends around makes it especially hard. Professors seem to have forgotten that all of us are in different circumstances. So while some are thriving, some aren't simply because of what the pandemic has put us through. I've especially noticed a lack of care from a majority of my science professors. While the subjects are hard, it's even more difficult having no support system. While some students could have taken the semester off, it may not have been feasible for others. There's so much going on that I feel like professors could have been more understanding. I especially feel like having a grade system right now is unfair to students. While pass-fail is a choice in this semester, I feel like some students who are doing fine right now are at an advantage compared to students who have so much to deal with due to the pandemic. And I'll be passing it on to Usman.
I'm doing the question.
Yeah, I'm next. So this is the last story I'm going to read before we move on to questions. So I'm very thankful that I'm healthy and that my parents still have their jobs. This is a really stressful time, so I'm trying my best to stay positive and to be grateful for how fortunate I've been, since so many people are sick and dying. Most people I know have struggled with mental health since the pandemic started. And I think it's really important to remember that we are all going through this together and we need to be safe to protect ourselves and others, as well as support each other during this crisis. And Usman?
So we have some questions for Dr. Malat. And the first being, as the CHS uh, uh, Community College of Humanities and Science Dean, what are your top priorities?
Well, I think about my priorities kind of on two planes. I mean, I think that on the one hand, we need to deal with the immediate situation. So some of the things that I heard in those stories, and I really appreciate you all collecting them and sharing them. You know, they remind me that we still have work to do to figure out how classes are taught and how students are learning and how we navigate that, because you know, we have another semester at least like this, and probably almost certainly next summer. So we have a ways to go. So I think about that and about what I can do in my role to support faculty in being the best instructors that they can be, and to communicate the experience that students are having, and how advising, who's represented here, and other staff can support students too. So that's one priority, is dealing with the immediate crisis that we're facing. And then part of my job is also to think much bigger about what the future is. And so one of the things that's on my mind right now is thinking about, what does the college look like when this is over? And how will we be teaching and learning and together and not together, and using technology in new ways when this is over? And what does that look like? And also, this is thinking in the future, but it has to do also with now. So this is a little bit of a both. But I also think about the future of work. What kinds of jobs will you all be going into? What will work be like? And how can we help you be ready for the kinds of jobs that will be out there as well? So I think about the future. Do we need new majors? What kind of classrooms will we have? All those sorts of things. And then for me, a priority is also thinking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that isn't new to these times. When I came here, well, one of the reasons I applied to VCU was because the student population is very diverse, is represented here by this group itself, by the Leadership Council. And so one of the things that I want to do is help the college become a more inclusive place, because we can have diversity without always having inclusion. And I want I mean, the ideal goal is a college where everyone can be who they are in that space, and it is welcomed and celebrated. And so I know we still have work to do in that regard. And you know, the movement for Black Lives and the other justice movements that have been happening more visibly in the last year have brought some of these issues to new people's attention, people who maybe weren't thinking about it before. And so in some ways, I mean, not in some ways, it's what social justice movements are for. It brings into people's minds what needs to be done. And so this is an opportunity to really get things done. So I would say those are my top things. I didn't really do a point by point, but I hope that answers the question in general.
Yes, it does. The next question is, do you consider mental health a priority in students' learning?
Yes, of course. Yeah, and I noticed in the stories, mental health came up, and I really heard it come up in two ways. You know, people were expressing concerns about their mental health and the isolation and disconnection that we feel right now in the pandemic, because we are actually isolated and disconnected from people. I also heard quite a few people expressing gratitude for the things that they do have. And of course, we know that gratitude supports a positive mental health experience. And so, so I was hearing both of those things when I was listening to the stories. I understand that that the provost office or somebody up above me sent an email out to students with advice about how to support your mental health during this time. I know that all of you read all of the email that you get from the university, so I'm sure you saw it. But in case you didn't, it was saying that there currently isn't a wait for some of the mental health services that the university provides, which I was really glad to see. I know sometimes those offices can be understaffed for what the demand is. So, you know, if people don't have a strong psychological well-being, it's really challenging to face your studies. And right now it's just challenging no matter what. I mean, I will tell you, I mean, I think it's on a lot of our minds. I went to the doctor today. I just moved, so I had to get a doctor. So I went to like a first doctor's visit because as my daughter, who's the age of some of you all, said to me, she said, Mom, at your age, a person needs a doctor. You need to find a doctor. So I finally got in with a doctor today. And he asked me, he said something like, do you feel anxious or have worries? Like he's just going through a checklist. Like, do you have high blood pressure in your family and things? And I said, well, given the circumstances, I think I'm okay. I mean, and then he laughed because he realized like everybody is feeling some higher level of anxiety and worry now than normal. So yes, so it is important. And yeah, anyway, okay. I can answer more questions if you want to talk more about it.
How do you feel that this semester has gone in terms of student happiness and success from what you've heard or what you've seen in classrooms and from professors?
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is really mixed. And that's part of why I wanted to do this, is that as the dean, like it's like there are the professors who teach classes, and then they have a boss who's a department chair, and then it comes up to me. So there's like a lot of levels in between there. And so so one of the things that I do besides talking to students is I've also talked to advisors to try to understand what's happening as well, because advisors talk to a lot of students. So I am trying to find out what's happening. And then obviously I'm here now and I've talked to the Leadership Council. So, but I feel like what ends up rising up are the stories that are a lot of success. So I know that some of the faculty who are teaching labs, and there are a lot of you here who are in majors that you probably have labs, they're feeling so happy with how well it went, like that it worked, that we got through the semester and were able to do the labs that needed to happen in person, for example. But then I'm also hearing stories about students who were thinking early in the semester, thinking about withdrawing from their classes, even though, you know, the withdrawal deadline isn't even until next week. And I really saw that as a signal that people were struggling. And so you know, that is my understanding, but I certainly want to know if I misunderstand. I mean, of course, there's just a variety of experiences, and that's what I want to hear about today. But that's what I understand right now.
Due to everything being online and technology issues and different websites and different programs that teachers use, there's been a lot of problems in a lot of classes where technology isn't working or some quizzes or tests aren't working. And students are constantly emailing professors, but they're not very responsive. Do you have any suggestions for them how they can contact you besides email?
Well, email is really the only way, because you can't really call them right now. They're mostly not in their offices. I mean, the thing to do is to email the department chairs. I have gotten some emails about this myself. So sometimes people contact me as the dean, which is fine as well. But the first thing that I do is I send an email to the chair of the department. And the chairs, they know what's going on better. They're better in a better position to deal with it quickly. And I have heard this is happening. In fact, over the weekend, I got an email like this about an exam that was supposed to be posted on Friday and it still wasn't up on Sunday. And I thought to myself, well, this isn't a thing that happens when classes are in person. You're supposed to take an exam, you go show up at the room and the person is there. Almost always. I mean, it happens very rarely that for some reason someone can't come. And I think part of what you're seeing is that also the people teaching your classes they're burned out and tired too. And that isn't an excuse at all. But what we can do is if you contact the chair, you or me, but again, that's fine if you contact me, but I will send it then to the chair. But I can save you the trouble of looking up who it is, because I know who they are. But then we make sure that the person does what they are supposed to be doing and making sure that they're delivering the class and doing their job.
This is the last question. It relates to students graduating this semester, next semester. What do you recommend for students thinking about graduate school if next semester is also online? Should they take harder courses online or wait for a lighter semester and then take their classes when classes are back to normal in person? Or does it not really matter how you take it? Because in the end, you're gonna have to take it anyways.
So you have to take what? Take the classes?
Yeah, the harder classes. So because there's a lot of concern.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So if you want to go to graduate school, should you wait and take the highest level classes in person rather? Okay. Nobody knows. I mean, I think I'll tell you, I have a couple thoughts. So I can give you a perspective from the land of being a dean. So I go to webinars where I'm an audience member rather than a panelist that are national webinars where people are talking about what everybody's doing. So it's deans and provosts and college presidents who are there talking about what we should do. And so on the one hand, what's happening, it's happening everywhere. So all students who are going through school right now are having the same challenges. I mean, not exactly the same, but very similar, different varieties, but same type of challenges that we're having right now. I was in a meeting last night with where there was someone who is a dean at a school in Philadelphia, and she said, we have a stay-at-home order now, so we're shutting down now, just like in March, like it's just coming suddenly again. So, there's just these things happening. So to answer your question, I mean, on the one hand, I think we as people who work in higher education, when we're evaluating applications for graduate school, and then when we're training the new cohorts of people who come in when the pandemic's over, we won't have forgotten what happened. I mean, we know what's happening. And so, I guess my recommendation would be to probably just go on. And let me say also why. Now that I'm answering it, I'm going to come on actually a hard response. At first I said I didn't know, but now I think I do know. I also think it's better to keep going because when I look at what's happening, my understanding, and so now I'm going to look at the other people who work in the dean's office here to make sure I understand this correctly. My understanding is the upper level labs are happening in person right now, right? I mean, that's, so who's, that is Elena, right? That's you're in the natural sciences. Are the upper level labs are happening in person, right? Or is that just the ones I hear about?
I think it might be a little bit of a mix. I do think some of them are, some of them might have some like hybrid components to them. I think it depends a little bit on the course, but I do think a fair amount of them have some number of in-person.
Okay. So, so I do know we're trying to deliver that, and I know that we're getting better at figuring out how to do it. I could just go on and on. I mean, I have so many thoughts about it because the other thing is, if you're following this nationally, you see that right now, Virginia is like almost alone in how exceptional it is that our numbers aren't rising very, very fast right now. And so it's hard to know what the spring is going to bring. But no matter what it brings, spring term, I mean, but no matter what it brings, we know so much more now, right? I mean, we know how the virus is transmitted, we know how to prevent its transmission. And so, so I'm hopeful that we'll be able to use those lessons to keep teaching in person as much as we can. And then there's already the part I said about how people will think about new cohorts of students and evaluating applications.
Thank you so much for answering our questions.
Yeah.
I'm going to transfer this to Meher. She's doing the specific CHS questions.
It's actually Naomi.
Hi, I'm Naomi. I'm going to take over for the specific CHS questions. My first question is, within the college, what steps are being taken to prevent cheating and other forms of academic dishonesty in a time when everything is online?
I don't know that I'm the best person to answer that. Is somebody else? James, are you able to answer that, or?
I can attempt to give an idea of what I've heard, because we also do hear of cases where that could be happening. Also, we will receive questions, concerns, or complaints, possibly from students about having video cameras being forced to be on, or the lockdown browsers. I am not an expert in all those platforms. I don't use them. But we've gotten questions from all around. Faculty are concerned, is there cheating going on? And try the best they can to use the resources that VCU has to address that. And again, there may be a couple other folks, I don't know if they know more of the specific names of things. There is an attempt to do it in many courses, but there's also some pushback about how far that can go. And so what we've tried to, the guidance we've tried to give faculty even earlier on in the summer preparing for the fall semester was to be sure that it was very clear on syllabi about what their policies would be regarding the types of exams they would give, the environment they would be in, and so on. So it's a very hard question because it comes up. Now that concern is every semester. We always are on the lookout because there's always take-home exams. There's actually some online work that gets done in a, I'll call it the old typical semester where almost everything is face-to-face. There's still some of that going on as well. But it is a hard question because it's hard to police that in a sense, very strictly. But I guess what I'm trying to say is the faculty are aware of it and do their best, and some are more vigilant than others, but we tried to make sure that they were very clear with the students up front at the beginning of the course as to what would be expected in that class. If there is something that's expected, if there are assignments that do come in and they look the same, the things that we typically would look for, if it's a paper assignment or an online submission, they are still supposed to and will still do the reporting according to the policies that we have. So if there's any suspicion, then the faculty are required to send that possibility over to the Honors Council, and they'll look at it and do their diligence to check on that.
Thank you. And my second question is, are there any plans to change the general education requirements within CHS?
That's like a two-part answer. James is laughing, but we're on a view where you can't see him laughing. I think he's waiting to see if I'm going to get this one right. Being new, I've had a lot of things to learn. But the general education requirements are created by the university. So the college sits inside the university, and those are changing right now. There's a group who is literally like it's happening. So that's one thing. And then separately in the college, we are keeping with the requirements that we have in the college. So, but a lot of those you can you'll be able to meet the university requirements by doing the things that the college requires. Do you know if this question, so it looks like I got this right because James isn't unmuting himself to tell me I got it wrong. Did I get it wrong?
No. Yeah, no. If you want me to give a few more details, I might, you were going to ask a question though. Go ahead and ask your question about where it might be coming from, and then I'll.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you have some context for what exactly what somebody wants to know?
Not exactly, but there is more like in the next section on like student internships and stuff on certain requirements on education. So, but that's good enough for that question since it was pretty general. And
I think I can add just something quick because it might be what the student's getting at. So the general education is changing for the university currently. It'll be effective for fall 2021. It looks very similar to the current humanities and sciences general education. And I won't go through all the details of that, but essentially we have 4 categories of courses that students take, and then they take 2 additional courses from each of those, just any category they want, in addition to the UNIV courses and the math requirement. The UNIV courses and the math requirement, called quantitative foundations or quantitative literacy, will remain in the university gen ed. And what's now the core curriculum for the university is becoming a full 30 credit general education. It will look very, very similar to what humanities and sciences does. There will be 4 areas. They're called areas of inquiry. You will take a course from each one, and then you'll take 2 additional courses from whichever area you want. So the new gen ed will look very similar to the current one. Any general education program does have a requirement to be at least 30 credit hours. So the university gen ed will be 30 credit hours. Our college currently has 3 additional requirements that go beyond the minimum of 30 credits. And that is a course on, it's called Choices in a Consumer Society. It's the Humes 202 1 credit online course. And it deals with debt and credit and loans and a lot of finance literacy. There's also, students take a course in the fine arts, strictly taught by the School of the Arts, that can be 1 to 3 credits. And there's also a foreign language requirement through the 102 level. That can be satisfied by placement, so it may not require any credits, or it could be the 2 foreign language courses. Currently, there are 4 credits each. There's a proposal, and it looks like that'll be approved. They will become 3 credit courses. Those 3 extra requirements, the Humes 202, the fine arts, and the foreign language, to begin with, will remain, but we will have a college-wide discussion to see if those should be changing over the next year. Because our curriculum committees, to change requirements, we do need to have the faculty input to decide exactly what we want to do. So there's your full detailed answer. Things will look the same, at least for the first year, but the college will be looking at, do we want to keep all of those or add something else? That could be, do we want to add an internship? That would be a bigger discussion.
But I just think it's important to point out, if you're a student now, you're not going to suddenly wake up one day and the things you've done don't count. It'll be that, I assume, right? We're going to have you graduate on the rules you entered by, right?
Right. That's actually what I was going to add, was that if you're a current student, you are still on your gen ed program unless you chose to move up your bulletin. So the gen ed changes that James just outlined for you will be for incoming freshmen for next year. So in order for you all to have to complete that new gen ed program, you would there'd be 2 cases where that might happen. Either you choose to move up your bulletin, in which case your advisor would walk you through how that would affect your gen ed completion, or for students that are academically suspended, when they readmit, they will be on that newer bulletin. So just to clarify that.
And one last thing to add, the courses that are currently counting towards the core curriculum in our college gen ed, I think all but one of them will be on the new gen ed as well. Plus they're expanding it to quite a few other courses around the university. So what's going to happen, there'll be more choices to satisfy it. So even if there is someone who wants to move to a newer bulletin or needs to for some reason, it'll be very easy for what they've already completed to fulfill the new gen ed, because it's going to have actually more options, more courses that you can choose from.
And my last question is, what is CHS willing to do to adjust to different students' learning styles and abilities?
Well, it's challenging for me to think about how to answer that question. I mean, what we're doing right now is, over the summer, there's a center on campus that offers workshops that teach instructors, professors how to teach well and how to teach online and all of those sorts of things. And so we encourage people to attend those. They're very good. I haven't attended them. So what I should say is the topics are very good about, universal design and how to make sure that courses are, that they're inclusive for all kinds of learners. So, that's one thing. I guess there are a few other things I can say. That another thing that is on my mind, it didn't rise up to the level when I was asked the question about priorities, but another issue on my mind is student success and how we in the college can do better and more to ensure that more students are successful in the courses that they enroll in. And so I have sort of started the ball rolling, and then early next year, like in the beginning of 2021, we'll be having more conversations, trying to, just think about how we set expectations for faculty so that they are more likely to put that effort in.
Thank you. And next up is Debbie.
Hi, so this question is about student internships and research, and it asks, how can or will students attain real world or practical experience such as internships, research, or shadowing when options are limited online?
I turn that over to my colleagues to answer. Who wants to take it?
Well, I can talk about it a little bit from the sciences standpoint. I think the first thing that pops into my head is definitely to speak to your advisor. One of the things that our advisors do is try to stay abreast of what opportunities are potentially out there. They work closely with various offices that provide those opportunities or work with students to get those opportunities. So your advisor often is kind of a go-to person for especially major specific stuff or things in that discipline to find out what opportunities might be there. It really has kind of been a moving target. We had a long period where there wasn't really a lot of in-person stuff happening. And then, sort of people went through the process of trying to innovate and come up with options that could be done online and so forth. So we have seen a lot of virtual and online opportunities. But then we did also have a period where students were allowed to come back into research labs and so forth. So there has been some in-person research and internships and things like that going on. Obviously, as the pandemic continues to play out, we'll have to see what happens with that. It's my understanding, I think for a while, the medical campus was open again for volunteers, but I think maybe they've had to come back down from that again and are not allowing as many volunteers. So, there could be, changes that happen with that as we go on. But I have heard of a lot of different things that have been happening, both in terms of virtual opportunities as well as even some in person. So I would say to start with your advisor. There's other offices too. So we have the UROP office, which is the undergraduate research office. So they're very much staying abreast of what research opportunities are out there, summer especially. So if you're looking for summer research opportunities, they'll probably be one of the first offices to kind of become abreast of what might be happening next summer. Of course, the Global Education Office for Study Abroad, they've put together some resources of things that students can be thinking about now as they potentially look to the future for opportunities. As far as internships go, a lot of those do get shared with advisors, so they often will share that. So if you get like a newsletter or emails from your advisor, it's good to check those out because often they will list internship opportunities there. Career Services is often a good place to go to. They find out about internship opportunities and post those as well. So I think that was probably a good overview. Did I, James, Juliana, did I leave anything out?
I don't think I can add anything to that. That was, yes, I think that was clear. Because a lot of the program, there are some programs in the social sciences as well that have more internships, mass communications majors. And I think the response is similar. Juliana, you might have something.
Yeah, the one that came to mind that I thought of that's still happening is the Virginia Capitol internship that the Wilder School and a lot of our political science majors will do it. That one is still happening. So I do know that there are, especially programs that have internships with larger either companies or nonprofits, those seem to still be happening. It's the smaller nonprofits that are sometimes not able to accommodate people right now.
Thank you so much. I will turn it over to Yusra for the next questions.
Okay, so my next question is, what are CHS's plans for virtual graduation, and if there's a way to make graduation special since it's going to be virtual?
So, wow, there are plans, and now I'm looking to see if anybody in this group knows Tyler, are you working on graduation? Because I was going to say, I know I have to make a video. I have to do 2 times. I have to do things because the university is doing something where they're having, anyway, I have to go put on the whole costume, and they're going to make like a video this year. And then the college is doing things too. And so I didn't introduce Tyler. So this is Tyler. Tyler, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm the Events and Communication Manager for the college. Commencement is actually something that I work with specifically as a part of my role. If anyone is familiar with how the university handled commencement in May, it's going to look quite similar this December. VCU at the university level is doing something a little bit different with the main commencement website and page. They're going to have a kind of like a pre-party beforehand. Everyone can come join, watch videos, listen to speakers, and then they'll launch graduation at a certain time. Commencement.vcu.edu is all the official information for anything going on from VCU. The college is doing almost exactly what we did in May. We found that worked really well, where every unit is going to have their own graduation page that has a message from Dean Malat, as well as message from your chair. Different departments are having speakers from students, graduate or undergraduate, and maybe some faculty as well. So it's going to be very similar to May if you saw that. And then we're also going to have list of graduates on those pages as well. And then that link will be shared shortly, I believe, or close to, we only have a couple more weeks left. And then the morning of is when it should go live. So whenever that time goes live for VCU's webpage is when we'll probably make ours go live.
All right, thank you. I'll turn it over to Jeet for the next question.
Yeah, so this is kind of this question is about tuition and fees, and it's kind of like a story and a question in one, so it's kind of long, but this semester I have felt like the college education I receive is not worth what I paid. For example, in my microbiology class, we've only covered half of the information that we are supposed to in the syllabus. And my biochem professor started using old lecture videos that he had recorded last spring once we passed midterms. I've heard similar complaints from my peers too. I understand that teachers are also feeling stressed. However, I feel like I'm not learning what I paid to learn. Is there any way we can address this?
Well, this is a real challenge of this time, and I know that students are frustrated and feel like they shouldn't be paying the full amount for their classes. And I mean, there's two answers to it. On the one hand, I will say it's way outside of my area of control. The tuition and fees are set by the university at the highest levels. And so it isn't something that I have any control over. And, you know, it is, I know that students have organized at other institutions and are, they're generally not finding success with their efforts to organize. I think that, I don't know, I'll say sort of like the sad fact of it all is that as an institution, we're employing all the same people and even more people and having more costs because of the pandemic. So it's hard for an institution to decide to charge less when we still have to pay everybody to teach all the classes. But what I think when I hear that question, what it makes me think and what I do have some influence over is on the quality of the experience that students have. I hope that, you know, as we go on to another semester like this next semester, we'll get better at it. And so students will have less feeling that they aren't getting their money's worth out of their education.
All right, thank you. I'm going to pass it over to Mijin.
Mijin is actually unable to speak, so I will be speaking on her behalf. But first, I just wanted to acknowledge a story that was submitted in the Q&A. I'll just mention this is a story and not a question. This person said, I wasn't sure if I was going to share my story, so I didn't on the form, but now I feel that it's important for me to. There are no breaks with online schooling, and with everything else going on, I am mentally, emotionally, physically, and exponentially exhausted in a way that starts breaking down your body. I have taken classes every semester this year, including winter and summer. I'm already running on fumes, and this fall feels like a drawn out intersection, except there's 5 classes, extracurriculars, mental and physical, health issues, a job, and barely a hint of empathy from some professors. In parentheses, some professors have absolutely been amazing, and I'm grateful for their patience, empathy, kindness, and understanding. And others have missed the ballpark entirely in a way that makes you realize they are completely disconnected from the needs of their students and from the global social, political, and healthcare epidemics going on right now. Close parentheses. I cannot even begin to express the severity of the exhaustion and stress I feel. The motivation and morale are incredibly low, and mental health issues are at an all time high. To make this as short as possible, I am a transfer student and senior. I got diagnosed with diabetes, PTSD, anxiety, depression just this year, and I already feel with other chronic health issues like PCOS and a bulging disc in my lower spine. I recently got over a really bad stomach infection that my doctor told me would have given me cancer if it wasn't caught in time. Never in my life have I been as stressed as I have this year. My resting heart rate gets to the 130s just from the stress of school and trying to communicate to teachers that they need to care more about the state of their students seems almost insurmountable. I've dealt with the computer freezing during quizzes/exams or my Wi-Fi going out during them, and no one that isn't a student right now can relate to how horribly stressful that is. I know that everyone is having issues right now and that teachers are exhausted and so are students. This isn't a normal semester and no one should try to treat it as a normal semester. I feel more students should take a note from Dr. Amy Rector. She's an anthropology professor. She has done her best to take off as much stress from her students this semester as possible and created such a kind and positive environment that not only facilitates learning from her to the students, but from student to student as well. It's very obvious that she cares, and I wish more professors were like her. So I just wanted to include that because that was very heavy, and I can tell that it was very important for them to share. So thank you for sharing. Um, Wait, did you want to go, Dr. Malat?
I was just going to say exactly what you said. That's why I remuted. But yes, I appreciate that the person shared their story. And I am thinking about, I thought about it earlier and then just now when I was listening, about how we can make sure that these stories get to the broader faculty and staff in the college. And so, this is being recorded. So we do have some options about how we can pull some of this maybe and make sure that we share it. So.
Yeah, I definitely think a lot of students can relate to how stressful this semester has been, whether you're on campus or not. It's just it's just a lot. Um, so our next question, um, what exactly is a university fee covering for those students who are completely remote?
That's another, these fees questions and cost questions, I am not good at answering. I don't know if anyone here is able to answer those questions.
I can speak to it to a certain degree. I think records and registration in the spring posted a complete list. So I will refer you there because my explanation is definitely not going to be as exhaustive as theirs since they oversee student accounting. But there are like part of the fee like covers health resources like the well and student health and university counseling services. And all of those centers and resources are online. So even if you're remote, you can access all of those services. The same thing for like the Campus Learning Center, which is covered by that fee. And I know Rec Sports is covered by that fee. They've all of those things that you used to go to in person, they've tried to find ways that students can connect with them and so they can still continue to offer their services remotely. So you can get tutoring or academic coaching remotely. Rec Sports has a lot of their classes online. So basically, those fees that you were paying for those on-campus services, for most of them, there is now like an online way to access those services. So that I would like refer you there. I'll see if I can find the link and share it in the chat for that kind of exhaustive list because I just hit the big ones. And I know that there's a lot in the fees category. James, do you want to add anything to that?
Juliana, I was going to say this might be a good time to go ahead and share that list of resources because we do have, so we're going to share a list of the top resources with you all. And that does include the well and counseling and campus learning center and so forth. So you can go to their website and check out and see what services they have available and how you can take advantage of those remotely.
And I think while that's coming up, all I was going to add was in any semester on the records and registration page, the student accounting page, there's a fee calculator, a tuition calculator that goes through all the different fees that are charged. That's the university fee that is pretty much universal. I know it's based on a certain number of credit hours as well. So if you have a low enough number of credit hours, certain things aren't charged. But it will go through those and all the program fees and things like that as well. So if you want to see all the details of your tuition and your fees, just do a quick search out there, but you can go to the student accounting page and it's there. I've looked out there on occasion to answer certain questions, but by no means will any of us try to go through and remember all the different categories. But it does go towards a lot of those support services. Of which, some of you will never use some of them, but you will use others. So, it's one of those things that there are a lot of things this goes to cover. And the question would be, how much do you actually, as an individual, take advantage of? You're not going to hit them all. But I think they figure all that in.
So do we have any more questions?
Yes.
I think Tyler was going to do the live feed was the plan, but are there any more questions that you all have? Okay.
Yeah, we have more questions.
Okay.
Next is Nikki.
So the next two questions are about COVID and the guidelines for COVID. So the first question is, do you think we upheld social distancing policies well? Is there anything that will change for next semester?
I think people really vary in how well they do their social distancing. I mean, clearly some people are very, adhere strictly to the rules and other people don't. So, and it's the same in our whole society. So, and as far as next semester, I expect it will be like it is this semester. I don't think there's anything new we've learned as a society or as that science has learned about what we should be doing, masking, distance, limiting, the size of in-person groups. Those things I don't see any sign of that changing.
Okay, thank you. And then the next question is, how long do you think that online classes will continue? What are your plans if the state undergoes a more severe lockdown again?
Yeah, I shouldn't be so pessimistic. I think it probably will. What I think though is that we are really lucky that we're done. So we're going to make it, unlike other places. If we were trying to go through the normal end of the semester, we probably wouldn't make it. So anyway, yeah, we'll just have to cross that bridge when we come to it. What was the actual question was, what will we do if we have to do a severe lockdown again?
Right. What were your plans if the state undergoes a more severe lockdown again?
Yeah, well, we will just follow the guidance as it comes. I mean, one of the things that's so stressful about the pandemic is all of the uncertainty. And this is just an uncertain situation as well. Although, like I said, I just think it won't be as severe because we just know more. I mean, if you all just like put yourselves back in March and April, when my example I always use is, I remember leaving the grocery store and pushing my hair away from my face and then thinking, did I just get the virus? And now I wouldn't think that. I know better. We know more. And so we can use that to help us if cases rise in Virginia.
Thank you. Next is Jasmine.
So this next question is about professors and classes amid COVID. So I've had a lot of professors not mention anything about COVID-19, re-election, Black Lives Matter movement, etc. This holds especially true when it comes to asynchronous classes, but even in synchronous Zoom classes. Professors don't address what's going on in the world. I'm not sure if they specifically were told not to say anything about it, but it feels like we as students are very disconnected from them. I'm worried that this disconnect could negatively affect how approachable professors could be for students who would need support. Is there anything the college could do to address this concern?
I'm writing it down. My expectation is not that people are not addressing things in class. I don't know if that's a double not, but I don't write to students all the time the way I do to faculty, and I write to them about these things, and I remind them that students are living in the same world and we're all going through a stressful time. So, so I will use my position to encourage people to talk about the real world in class sometimes.
Thank you for that. And I'll turn it over to Allison.
Thank you. So the question is, will there be trainings for professors on how to better implement online classes or use online tools to further educational opportunities?
Yes, there are currently. I mean, there were. I don't remember seeing ones right now because we're in the semester. And I don't know what the plans are for the period between semesters, but I imagine they will be offering more classes for professors to improve their skills in online teaching. It might not feel this way to you, but maybe you can see it. The university has really impressed me with its commitment to offering these opportunities for faculty to learn. Some schools didn't have the resources or use the resources to do it. And VCU did get organized and act pretty quickly during the summer. So I hope that more and more faculty will take advantage of the opportunity to improve their skills.
Okay, thank you. The next question is why, next is Ashley.
Okay.
So our next question, our next session has to do with classes offering concerns with COVID. And then this question is, what is the reasoning behind offering asynchronous online classes over synchronous online classes? I've heard a lot of student frustrations over asynchronous classes as it's not what they paid for, and synchronous classes could be recorded and posted online for students who wish to do them asynchronously. However, offering asynchronous classes seems unfair to students who want to be in class and learn from the professor. Why?
Faculty were left to make that decision themselves, and I guess, the honest answer is there just wasn't a lot of guidance. And so people made choices, and I don't even have any, I don't know what to say about it. I became the dean on July 1st. And so I'm trying to think about, by then, it was like the very end of trying to find out how everybody was going to teach their class. So this kind of feedback, though, we can use. I can let people know there's a preference for synchronous classes, and we can try to encourage people to move in that direction. Because, one thing that research is showing is that a lot of faculty, not a lot, a lot minimizes it. Most faculty are really missing the interaction with students. They feel sad about not seeing students and having the interactions the normal interactions, the reason that they want to do the job is missing. So they might be happier to do some synchronous classes too. If I go back, and I don't know how much this went into each individual's decision, but let me say there were, from our side, things that we worried about that maybe we would worry about less now. And James is nodding. We worry about time zones. So if there are international students who are not in the United States, or even students who are in the US, but in a different time zone. So we have time zones worries that were a thing that we talked about in the summer. People worried about, anyway, I think that we know pretty clearly now that it's better to have synchronous classes, but there was some debate during the summer also about if we give more, it's true, synchronous classes don't allow as much flexibility also. So those are part of the things that went into it as well. This is the part of the learning, right? Like the finding everything out as we do it.
Yes, I'll add a little bit to that. I agree, because in the middle of July, a new schedule was developed. So faculty were considering how they wanted to offer their courses. The original schedule comes out, oh goodness, early in the spring semester for students to sign up for the fall. And so they wanted to give everyone an opportunity to teach how they felt comfortable. And I do remember, some of the thought process, and I can't speak for every single instructor, obviously, but one of the related issues related to what was just said was that there were more in-person options to begin with. And one concern was scheduling synchronous courses remotely as well was causing concerns even from students of what if I need to be in class in person at some point of the day, but then have to be remote on a schedule, and my place where I can actually be online, I can't do that if I'm also in person. So this was early on. It became a shift to more remote instruction after a while. And even after July, there were some changes to add more remote. But that was also one of the concerns, was actually trying to think how best can the student schedule be worked. And they were worried about having too many things scheduled at a given time. That's just one small part of that I remember specifically, not only from the faculty, but students were asking that question as well. But I agree. Anything scheduled that gives you a little more structure, and you do see the faculty member live, even if it's remote, is more advantageous. So I think maybe that'll shift a little bit now that folks know what the full structure is going to look like. That they probably are planning to be more remote, and so that might open up that option a little bit better.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to Fiza now.
Hi, it's nice to meet you. We have one last question for you, and it's, I have one concern specifically about the handling of organic chemistry 2 lab for the upcoming spring semester. Due to my pre-existing health issues, I had reached out to many different people and even the chemistry department chair about trying to register for one of the 4 online sessions being offered, and was met with very dismissive responses rather than any help or straight answers about what would happen next semester. I have still not heard back from faculty who said that they would let me know what will happen with the lab, but rather I've heard from other students that the online sessions will no longer be offered. An early return to campus would be unsafe for me, so I feel as though I am being forced to put my health on the line in order to continue my academic career. Organic Chemistry Lab 1 and many other labs are being taught online, so I do not understand why Organic Chemistry 2 lab cannot be offered online as well. It feels as if the chemistry department does not care at all about its students' health, safety, nor their academic success.
Okay, so I don't know about that specific class, but in general, what I would say is that when students face concerns like this, going to their advisor is probably a good thing to do. And if you don't get resolution there, then send me an email and I can try to get the people involved who can help figure things out.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So are we moving now to the live questions? Yes? Okay, so I think that Tyler, who introduced himself when he had the answer earlier, is going to be moderating the questions.
All right, we have just a few here, but if anyone's watching, there is that Q&A button down at the bottom of the screen where you can submit some questions to us if you'd like. I'll read this one's a little bit of a story, but I'll read it for you. During the fall semester, I have one in-person lecture for biochemistry 2. It is held in Harris 101 every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. One concern is that seats are not taped off 6 feet apart. Only 2 seats are taped off. Also, a lot of the tape is moved around or is missing or is not holding on. It seems like the lecture hall is not being cleaned. Also, there are wipes in the lecture hall, but it was not clearly communicated that students should clean the desks and seats. I only see myself and one other student cleaning their desk before class. Moreover, my professor asked the class if it was okay if he doesn't want to wear a mask, which I felt was very awkward. But so far, he has kept his mask on when he talks, but he sometimes lifts it off his face. Moreover, I just feel like the university needs to do more than just daily health checks. I know other universities are more stringent on COVID-19 testing. Testing has more availability as I see no appointments are available. And I think that was a story that someone in the audience wanted to share.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And I have just a couple of responses. So if a person teaching your class is not wearing their mask, you should let the department chair know. And if you don't know who that person is, you can let the dean's office know. That is the protocol for people who work for the university. you just let somebody in charge know. So that's that part of it. And as far as the protocols go and the availability of testing, that is handled at the university level. And I know that there is some work happening about how we're going to return to campus in the spring, because everybody who works at VCU, and I'm betting students too, have to take a new coming back to campus thing. I haven't seen it yet. I just know we're going to. So it makes me think that we're going to have some new protocols, but I don't know what they are.
And then we currently have one more question here. Since classes are online now for the most part and for this foreseeable future, would it be possible to have teachers extend timed exams quizzes? Could you possibly make a mandate for a minimum length given there is truly no reason to have a timed exam during this period?
So I can make recommendations like that. And I mean, one of this, yeah. So this gets sort of, I don't know. I'm like torn right now between, if somebody's having a specific problem in a class, be sure to let somebody know. And then on the other hand, all these recommendations that people are making about how their experience and learning would be improved with some changes that really are relatively small changes. I'm taking some notes. I'll look at this recording later so that we can be sure to collect all of this and share it with the people who teach the classes you take.
I will say, and I don't know if this is a factor, but I know because somebody asked earlier about proctoring software and academic integrity, I think some faculty are keeping timed exams as a way to limit cheating. So that's just something that I know some instructors are doing. So I'm just kind of going to share that may be the reasoning, is that if it's timed, then students can't look up all the answers, for example. So anyway, just wanted to share that.
Yeah, thank you. Great. So is that it for the questions?
It looks like one might be coming in live right now. Someone said they're asking a question for a friend, and then I think they might be typing it. If we can hold off for just a second.
Okay, we can do that. So while we're waiting, I will say again that, this is, I'm really thankful for all that you have shared, and you all don't know me yet, but I take very seriously that being in this job means that I don't just listen and not do anything about things. I want to make the college be a place that is better, that we can improve things and we can do things. And so that is how I will handle what you have shared with me. And I have a bunch of notes here, and I'll talk to my colleagues and we'll make sure we get everything together and go back and look at the recordings if we need to. And I will share this information with the faculty, and it will give a chance then over break for people to think about how they're going to be teaching come the new semester. So it looks, I can see we got a higher number. So do we have another question?
Yeah, I can read you the question that came in.
Okay.
Looks like it's a bit of a story as well. It reads, I had to take physics over the summer, and while I understand the course load, it is unreasonable to believe that students have to give up everything for one class. Our professor sent an email saying that we would not have time for anything else. It was true because we were spending 12 plus hours for physics in one day, every day.
Okay, so I really can't speak to any individual class. This is something that if there are issues with the class, you should let the department chair know, or let someone in the dean's office know. Having taught summer school myself in the past, I know that sometimes classes are really compressed in the summer. So if you take something that happens 3 credits or 4 credits or 5 credits in just a few weeks, it is a really major undertaking. But again, I don't know what specific class this person is talking about or what the details are. So, okay. Well, I appreciate you all being here. I know, you know, everybody has a lot to do in their houses or their dorm rooms, but we're getting to the end of the semester, so you know, I know that it's a particularly stressful time. So I'm really impressed with you all taking the time to be here, and it shows your dedication to your own learning and to your to other students and to the college. So I appreciate that, and I hope that we can continue this conversation. If you all want to do this again or do something different that's like this to communicate, I am glad to do it. It is my job, and I care about doing it. So yeah, so let me know, and we will be following up with the Leadership Council. I'll let them know what specific things I've done after this so that you can know the outcomes of this meeting. And I wish everyone good luck finishing the semester, and then over the break, stay safe. And I want to see everybody back here in the spring semester. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.